WTO is associated with long talks, various tariffs, customs quotas, imports and exports, as well as with other terms which our consumers sometimes do not understand. The task of WTO market program is to break all the barriers between buyers and sellers because we know everything about the prices. What are the prospects of the pharmaceutical market of Kazakhstan? Who is willing to buy Kazakhstani medicines? And how can Kazakhstani manufacturers remain competitive in the EU? Over the last 2 years, prices for vitamins increased by almost 30%. The falling demand was also stipulated by the decrease in purchasing power of the local population. Thus, 84 million packs were brought during the first half of 2015. In the same period of 2017, this number reduced to 71 million. The establishment of the Kazakhstani pharmaceutical market began since the independence in the middle 1990s. Too little medications were available for sale and the country did not produce its own drugs. By now, the situation has changed radically. Nowadays, 80 domestic pharmaceutical enterprises produce more than 11,000 tons of drugs and medical products to the amount of more than 42 billion tenge annually. This is 37 times more than 20 years ago.
Over
the last decade, the pharmaceutical market increased more than 7 times and reached 366 billion tenge. There are enough retail organizations and distribution companies which are developing quite rapidly in the today's environment. The pharmaceutical branch of Kazakhstan is being established in a gradual manner. The main difficulties it faces are volatility of the currency rate and prices for raw materials, as well as shortage of qualified personnel. We train our workers on a regular basis. We use best Ukrainian enterprises as a training ground for our specialists. This year, we also started to cooperate with specialists from the Czech Republic who teach our technologies. However, Kazakhstan sets very specific goals and achieves them. For instance, in 2018, all domestic drug manufacturers will be obliged to switch to GMP, Good Manufacturing Practices. This will guarantee high quality of medications for consumers. Currently, taking into account the global situation, Densaolik State Program was developed for the period between 2016 and 2020. Its goals and objectives are focused on the improving of provision with medicines inside the country. Currently, Kazakhstan is gradually becoming a part of the world trade space. After their accession to the WTO, the local manufacturers need a special support. Among the challenges provoked by the current situation is the fact that competition is going to be very tough. Strong players with the know-how, investments and technologies will join the market of Kazakhstan. We shall have to join efforts of state authorities, manufacturers, private entrepreneurs and public associations in order to be able to become honorable members of the WTO and the EU. The key support measure of the domestic manufacturers is the single-state distribution system represented by SK Pharmacy. This organization purchases medicines for the guaranteed package of free medical care. Currently, the single distributor SK Pharmacy concluded long-term agreements with 23 domestic manufacturers on more than 500 types of medicines. Since May 6, 2017, the single market of medicines was launched under the EU. Pharmaceutical companies of Kazakhstan, Russia, Belarus, Armenia and Kyrgyzstan can apply for registration and selling of their products in accordance with single procedures. The pharmaceutical market of EU countries exceeds $17 billion. 80 to 85% of them belong to Russia, 7% to Kazakhstan, 5% to Belarus, 2% to Kyrgyzstan and 1% to Armenia. Notably, Kazakhstan has the highest level of imports of pharmaceuticals in comparison with other EU members. Thus, 88% of pharmaceutical products on the market of Kazakhstan are imported. In 2013, the imports reduced, but in 2017, sharply increased. For example, import of medicines from China grew 30 times. This year, more than 50% of all medicines were imported from India, 760.2 tons, China, 739 tons, Germany, 737 tons, and CIS countries, 626 tons. Along with that, over the last years, the increase in exports of Kazakhstani drugs and medical products can be observed. In 2016, exports exceeded $30 billion. One-third is imported by the EU, Russia and Kyrgyzstan. One of the reasons of the increasing export is that thanks to the introduction of GMP, using high-quality materials ensures high quality of finished products. Nowadays, all we understand this. No manufacturer wants to lose the market or customers and therefore gives more attention to the quality of its products. I'm confident that our control system is established in such a manner that all or almost all domestic manufacturers produce high-quality medicines. How to detect a falsified medicine in a pharmacy? What drugs are most in demand throughout the world? And why companies benefit from producing generics? According to the WHO, fraudulent medicines on developing markets, including Kazakhstan, may reach 10%. The mostly falsified drugs are those which are especially in demand or have a very high price. Medications free of any active substances are in most cases imported from China. Fake medicines with a certain therapeutic effects are usually delivered from India. So how can we distinguish counterfeits? The fact that the price of a medicine significantly differs from the average price of the same drugs sold within the city and it is too low should put us on guard. We should carefully inspect the package. If it is made of thin cardboard while colors and inscriptions on it are watery and vague, it means we're buying a fake. The instruction sheet should not look like a copy. It is also recommended to pay attention to its print quality and the way how it is folded. In counterfeit packages, instructions may be placed separately from medicines. In authentic medical products, blisters or bottles divide instruction sheets strictly by half. Experts expected the contraction of the US pharmaceutical market after Donald Trump took office and promised to restructure the American healthcare system. Nonetheless, the US pharmaceutical market remained one of the largest in the world and showed a 5% growth. However, this year its growth rate is expected to go down due to the rapidly increasing number of generics. Last year, the Chinese pharmaceutical market continued to demonstrate a rapid growth. Therefore, the country was the second in the world rating. The Chinese government has made environmental protection and healthcare top priority of its strategic development. On the one hand, this is explained by the excessive increase in number of customers with health insurance cards. On the other hand, this will lead to the increase in expenditures for healthcare, in particular public drug supply. Experts estimate that in 2020 expenses of the healthcare system in China will reach $900 billion. The pharmaceutical market of Japan strongly holds the third position in the world rating. In view of the growing proportion of the elder population and strong budget deficit, the Japanese government is set for the reduction of healthcare costs. At the same time, one of the main policies remains the increasing the share of generic drugs from 60% to 80% in 2020. The world pharmaceutical market grew by more than 6% in 2016. In future, experts predict that its growth rate will average between 4 and 7%. The top 5 groups of medicines, the demand for which is expected to grow by 2022, are anti-inflammatory medicines by 12.5%, dermatological drugs by more than 10%, drugs acting on sense organs by approximately 8%, anti-diabetic drugs by about 7%, and vaccines by slightly more than 5%. By 2022, the world pharmaceutical market may reach $1.5 trillion. Market experts think that generics or biosimulators on the market as high-quality competitors for original drugs will result in sales loss of original drugs up to 90%. Moreover, the price of generics may be 80 to 85% lower than of authentic medicines. A draft bill on Russia's exit from the WTO has been introduced to the State Duma. It was initiated by the group of deputies from the Communist Party. They said Russia does not much benefit from the WTO membership.